Hi everyone, welcome back to the Nostalgic Dragon, where I talk about fantasy books, mythological books, and sometimes science fiction. And today, 8 spiritual books that you might or might not have heard about. I will start with uh, explaining why I will show you these books because the channel has this spiritual perspective of reading books. So when I read fantasy or science fiction, and of course mythology, but it goes without saying, I have a kind of spiritual lens. It means that I try to, and I really enjoy when there are spiritual things put into the books. It could be meditation, it can be tea, it can be gods, it can be spirits, it can be people who has contact with the divine, it can be many things. And as you know, if you follow the channel, I believe that there is an overlap between mythology and fantasy and the religions we have today in the world as well. I have a few books that reflect my own journey, you could say, when it comes to spiritual books. And would like to start with a different book. Maybe you have seen this before or you have not. This is called Stories of the Mind and Gods of India. The book looks like this. And the um, the book is, you could say, a popularized version of many of the essential old stories and tales within Hinduism, and it goes as far back as to what you can call equivalent to creation and the Hindu perspective on that. You don't need to be a believer to read this. It's very important. You can just read this book to enjoy it. And if you read regular Hindu scriptures, it might be a bit difficult if you're not used to that. And I would say that this is a book you can read just, being curious on this kind of spirituality with many gods and the relationships between the gods, for example. It's made by Roberto Calasso, and it's specially directed to or targeted to Western readers. And he uses texts like the Rig Veda. There are different Veda scriptures, for example. And he also has stories about Shiva, for example, the god Shiva, and other texts that are very common, but it's popularized. So if you are very traditional, you should, of course, avoid this book. But if you are curious on this kind of spirituality, I really advise you to read this book. It looks like this, um, and this is better for you. This is the back side, and this is the front. So here the lighting was better. So try it out. Roberto Palazzo, Calasso, sorry, Calasso, and it's from 1999. So I've had it for a while. So that's the first book. The second book is about darshan, means to see the god or to view the god. This is in Swedish, as you can see. New Doxa is the publisher, but the author is not Swedish, so I think you can find it in English, and she's called Diana L. Eck, and very important part of Hinduism is to go to the temple and to sacrifice to the god or to the gods. This is also a book not made for, you could say, believers, but for those interested in that. And in fantasy, as you know, it's very common with gods and temples, and to see the picture and even meet the god. This explains a little bit about what's in it for the believer when the believer is viewing or sacrificing to the god. Um, Very important, of course, you don't need to believe in the stuff that I show you. I will show things from other spiritual branches and faiths as well in this video. So it's interesting though, because it's a fact in fantasy that you meet the gods in different ways. I think the earlier book, Ka, which I showed you, also is important because of that, because you get a sense of the depth of the myths and the origins of the myth, and you can read a lot into that if you want to. Another book I think is great to read is this one by Karen Armstrong. She's famous. It's about the Buddha, and it's about his life, his teachings, and mostly in fantasy you find a Buddha-like character. It could be Yoda, but that's science fiction, but it could be Yoda, it could be Gandalf, of course. In the Sun Eater series, it's Thor Gibson, and yeah, we have the lion and Narnia, for example. Many different characters, both in science fiction and the fantasy as well. The sage or the wise man or woman exists, and those who live far from materialism. And this book explains Buddhism for you in a good way, I think. And if you're curious on that, this is a great book to start with. This is not about the practice, but the theory, the theology, you could say. And I think you will see a lot of these tropes in, if you can call it a trope, I think you can. The sage, you'll find it in a lot of fantasy books as well. Moving on in the Buddhist world, this is a book I highly recommend if you're into poetry as well. Zen Buddhism, I think that's common in the West nowadays. It's not so big, it's a niche. But here you can find koans. Koans is a kind of word riddle that the teacher gives their students. And usually it's a paradox, and the student gets the assignment to chew and to ponder on that until he or she understands it. It's a kind of way to gradually reach a realization and enlightenment, you could say. Usually these koans they are more confusing, but there are also many poems, and they are very beautiful. It's closely related to haiku, and if you read fantasy, especially fantasy, I think, not so much sci-fi, you can find a lot of these parables and things like that, and I think this has a connection to that in many ways. This book is made by Miriam Levering, right? Miriam Levering. And I mean, this is just a nice book. So it can look like this inside the book. So nice picture, very zen, and a poem, quote, or koan, for example. Here we have one. I think this one is beautiful. And it says, sound of mountain, sound of ocean, everywhere, spring rain. Yeah, you can intonate that in different ways. And then you have the special kind of stories within Zen about Joshua. It's very common to talk about this Joshua. So this is interesting, maybe for you, if you want to take a spiritual perspective, delve into that a bit. There are many more books, of course. I have more here to show you, but you find a lot of Christian books or as well. I don't have anyone here, but a part of the Bible that I'm very fond of is the Easter message, you could say, with Jesus, when he's about to be, before he's being crucified. There are a lot of koan-like sayings in that part of the Bible from Jesus, and also, a lot of sages in fantasy and sci-fi and other mythologies as well have that kind of tone, that kind of wisdom and deep insight that is promoted in that part of the Gospels. I don't have the book here because it's digital. It's a Tao Te Ching, a Taoist scripture, very wise, I think the book is. I've learned a lot from that. It's about what life is about, the meaning of life, and I would say it's about the contradictions of life. And a book related to Taoist, Tao Te Ching is the book of Chuang Tzu, and he was as I understand it, a Taoist. And in Taoism, as well as in Zen, there is a lot of humor. And here are a lot of short stories that for you as a first reader, even me, I've read it many times, can feel confusing and strange. But the aim of the story is usually to make us see things in different ways, or to just laugh at things, or just to view at the impermanence of the world, and not taking it so seriously. There are many stories in here. I really enjoy them. It's not an it's quick read. It's not an easy read. You should read it even if you don't understand it. That's my advice to you. Just read them. Go on to a hike or trekking or anything like that, or take a walk. Suddenly you will uh, have some kind of, you could say, aha moment. Yeah. So, or something that has been written in this book. So, good advice. The book of Chuang Tzu. Another book back to Hinduism is the Upanishad. And this is when a teacher sits down with his student, a guru sits down with his student. It's a teaching session with the guru, and here there are 13 principal Upanishad, and they are very philosophical, and it's about who sees, who talks, who are you, who are God, who are Brahman in this book when it comes to Hinduism. And if you have a philosophical, spiritual interest whatsoever, I recommend this book. It's also, not for it's not a devotional book, so to speak. So you can read that even if you have, believe in another religion or have another faith. It's not crucial to. It's not a requirement. But and I would say a lot of fantasy today is really inspired by Eastern teachings, or at least polytheistic teachings. That goes as well for Tolkien, even if that is not connected to Eastern philosophies or religions. The the relationship to maybe Germanic culture and Norse mythology and the Celtic culture as well. All these polytheistic faiths has connections to other existing polytheistic faith that exist today in the world. So this is an advice. Check it out. This is a Penguin classic, so it's very easy to get hold of course. Um, I think I'll stop there, or maybe yeah, I have 2 books left if you have the energy to continue watching. Also, Penguin Classic. If you're into iconography, right? Um, this book is interesting for you. Devduk Patnaik. He's a mythologist, you could say, Indian, and this is called Mithya, Decoding Hindu Mythology, and it's iconography. It's about, and he presents pictures, and here we have one of Lakshmi, for example, and then he explains what the picture means. Maybe not so common in fantasy, but still we read about gods that have weapons or have powers, and we talk. We read about how believers draw power from them, like Karsa Olong in House of Chains, the Malasan Book of the Fallen, for example. Now you can see about symbols. So the points of Shiva Shakti, for example. A lot of things here you can read. It's also, popularized writing, easy to understand and to delve deeper into if you really, really like this. I think this can give you an added enjoyment of reading fantasy and other mythologies as well, because you can see more and it becomes much more deeper, maybe more deep than the author actually intended it to be. I'm not sure, but I think so. But you will have a greater immersion, and you will have a, I think, greater learning experience from the book. The last book I'll show you is a religious book, but you can just read it anyway. It's the Bhagavad Gita, and if you read one, I really recommend that you read it not with commentaries. This, if you don't know what it's from the Mahabharata, the Hindu epic, and it's about a war. So when the war starts, the one of the military commanders, the Arjuna, he doesn't know what to do because he understands that on both sides there are relatives, there are friends, etc. He is filled with doubt why he should do this. So he asked for divine guidance by Krishna, the God Krishna, which you probably have heard about. If you haven't, please tell me if you want to know more about this pantheon. And Krishna teaches Arjuna in yoga, you could say. And about reincarnation, about impermanence, etc. You can read this without believing in this, just to get more insights, I would say, about how you can view life. And it's a great story, and it's quite easy to get into. This version is I bought in India, so here is a picture of Arjuna and Krishna, and in this version you have the Sanskrit or Sanskrit Sounds good. On top here, then you have a transliteration, I think it's called, and then you have the English here. There are many different versions, so if you're interested, you can just Google it to find your version. But I highly advise not reading with commentaries that will affect your own interpretation. Here's another beautiful picture. So, with that said, do you have other spiritual books? Please write it in the comments below. And if you are still here, why am I doing so many videos at the moment? Because I'm teasing the algorithm a bit. See what happens, especially now during summer when I have more time. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and also share if you have the possibility to do that if you found this interesting. So until next time, have a great evening, and see you later. Bye.